A visitor to Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, would find a bustling city with rush-hour traffic and busy inhabitants. 1 year ago, the scene was quite different, as falling productivity caused widespread shortages of food and fuel, and hyperinflation brought long lines at banks. But now market shelves are full, 8 months after the government abandoned the Zimbabwean dollar and allowed the US dollar and South African rand to be used as legal currencies. Professor Eldred Musunungure of Zimbabwe University says the use of the dollar introduced some dramatic changes.
The most visible change is obviously in the area of the economy, but at the micro level, the macroeconomic situation has improved. The macro economy has also shown signs of improvement.
The improvements followed a power-sharing agreement 1 year ago between President Robert Mugabe and then-opposition leaders Morgan Tsvangirai and Arthur Mutambara. They formed a unity government with Mr. Mugabe as president and Mr. Tsvangirai as prime minister. The power-sharing government ended much of the political violence that marred controversial elections last year. And workers have begun replacing old water pipes that were partly responsible for water shortages and a cholera epidemic 1 year ago. Tinashe Dube, a businessman from the Glenview suburb in southwestern Harare, says the power-sharing accord has improved living conditions.
The unity government have changed our lives. Because before unity government, it was totally grounded. This situation of Zimbabwe was totally grounded. But now, is something funny if I tell you one could not even afford to buy mealie meal, even bread itself.
In the Epworth township, which saw some of the worst political violence, vendor Patricia Chingombe says the introduction of the US dollar stabilized the economy.
The Zimbabwe dollar was no longer buying anything. It was just paper. But now, if I get a little money, I can buy something.
Despite the improvements, life for most Zimbabweans remains hard. Economist John Robertson says although farming and manufacturing have picked up somewhat, Zimbabwe is still not producing enough goods for its 10 million people. As a result, a great deal of the money is going abroad to pay for imported goods.
And so the money is not really circulating in Zimbabwe, it's coming and going. And it comes from the diaspora, so-called, the remittances of former Zimbabweans sending money to support their families. And that money becomes what can be spent in the shops. And the shopkeepers will send it straight out of the country to replace the stock they've just sold.
In St. Mary's Township, one of the poorest in Harare, vendor Ida Mukwanyi says she is still suffering.
Business is not good. Sometimes we just sit here for nothing. There are times when we go home without even a dollar. We are suffering.
Analysts say the government should adopt more investor-friendly policies and abandon nationalization programs if it is to attract the capital needed for reconstruction. But they predict it will take years for the economy to recover from the decline of the past decade. Scott Bobb, VOA News, Harare.